Kawhi Leonard shocked fans everywhere when he announced that he would be departing from the Raptors to join the Clippers in 2019. Everyone who saw the team that year knew how important he was to getting them to the championship, but when the time came, he left them to return home. But we can't help but wonder how the Raptors would have performed had Kawhi stayed. Let's find out what Fred VanVleet had to say. First up, could Kawhi Leonard have helped the Raptors win multiple championships? Kawhi Leonard left the Toronto Raptors squad that had just won a championship in order to join the LA Clippers in 2019. At the time, for a finals MVP to leave in free agency was unheard of, but Leonard wished to go back to his roots in Southern California. And while the 2019 season will always be a special memory for Raptors fans, it will be accompanied by a sense of regret over what might have been had Leonard chosen to stay with the team. Raptors guard Fred VanVleet believed that had Leonard stayed, Toronto may have won 3 straight championships. He appeared on a recent episode of Serge Ibaka's How Hungry Are You? And was questioned if Toronto would have been able to go back-to-back if Kawhi stayed. He replied, "Three-peat." While it is clear why VanVleet thinks this way, it is difficult to picture Toronto pulling off the improbable three-peat. The Toronto Raptors were not a lock to win the 2019 championship after being forced to a 7-game series in the Eastern Conference semifinals, losing 0-2 to the Milwaukee Bucks, and not to mention Kevin Durant's injury in the finals that they benefited from as well. Of course, nothing about what they did is diminished by that, but it's difficult to imagine them winning 3 titles in a row. Leonard wanted to return home after bringing a championship to a place he never intended to go. It's possible that had he chosen to stay, the Raptors might have won another championship. But regardless, Raptors supporters will always cherish the 2019 season and the role that Kawhi played helping them achieve everything. Coming up, Kawhi has faced some of the best names in the NBA. Kawhi Leonard was one of the few two-way players in the 2010s who was consistently at the peak of his game. The proof of this was when he won 2 Finals MVP honors, as well as 2 Defensive Player of the Year titles in 2015 and 2016. Despite the injury problems he is currently dealing with in the 2022-23 season, Leonard was unquestionably one of the decade's top 5 most influential players. He was the best perimeter defender in the game defensively, going up against some of his opponent's best offensive players in crucial situations. In short, he refined his offensive strategy to become a superior all-purpose weapon. Kawhi went up against some of the greatest teams in history throughout his ascent to the top to win both with the San Antonio Spurs and Toronto Raptors. So, we're looking at some of the best NBA players who Kawhi Leonard defeated in the NBA Finals. First up, Rashard Lewis. Rashard Lewis was one of the top small forwards in basketball during the 2000s, winning 2 All-Star selections and adjusting to a league that was changing at the time. Lewis would end up contributing 20 points per game and become an important player for the 2009 Orlando Magic squad that reached the NBA Finals. He also played for the Supersonics and Magic for the first 13 seasons of his career. So by the time he joined the Miami Heat in 2012-13, he had already reached the end of his playing days. Lewis continued to be an important reserve for Miami in 2014. Though his agility and body had deserted him, he became more of an outside shooting danger than anything else. He averaged 8.6 points per game and shot 45.5% from three-point range in the 2014 NBA Finals when Leonard's Spurs won 5 games against Miami. In that series, he and Ray Allen attempted 22 threes, which put them just behind LeBron James on the team. Even though he wasn't the Lewis of old, he had one final strong performance before quitting at the end of the season. Up next, DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins was once among the top big men in basketball during the 2010s. While playing with the Kings and Pelicans from 2015 to 2017, Cousins made 3 consecutive All-Star games while developing into one of the game's best all-around players. In 2017, he averaged 27 points per game and was on the verge of becoming a superstar. Sadly, injuries due to his Achilles and ACL developed, completely severely derailing his career. In 2018, while playing for New Orleans, he tore his Achilles, which resulted in him missing 357 days. He joined the Warriors in 2019 and played in 30 regular season games, averaging 16.3 points per game and 8.2 rebounds per game. After that, Cousins tore his quadricep against the Clippers in the opening round of the playoffs, but he returned for the NBA Finals. Despite the serious injury, Cousins was still able to produce well, averaging 8.3 points per game and 4.7 rebounds in 18 minutes every game. Cousins might have been one of the greatest players to ever play play and far higher on this list if he hadn't been injured. Moving on, Ray Allen. Ray Allen may have been the best shooter in NBA history before the arrival of Stephen Curry. Allen was much more than that, was a dependable all-arounder in his earlier years with the Bucks and Supersonics. In his entire career, Allen made a lot more three-pointers than was typical at the time, shooting 40% of the time from outside the arc. He later went on to win the NBA title in 2008 with the Boston Celtics and became a 10-time All-Star. At the end of his illustrious NBA career, Allen joined the Heat at the age of 37. Oddly enough, Allen helped the Heat rally and even win the NBA title in 2013 by making one of the most important three-pointers in NBA Finals history. The final season of Allen's career would be the 2014 Finals run. He had played 31 minutes per night for Miami in the NBA Finals against Leonard Spurs, while averaging 9.8 points per game throughout the series. With 1.6 steals per game, he contributed on the defensive end as well. Unfortunately, his bid to win a third NBA championship fell short, but he still rode off into the sunset as one of the best players of his generation. Following up, Kevin Durant. The Golden State Warriors and Kevin Durant were coming off back-to-back NBA titles, and Kawhi Leonard was leading the Toronto Raptors on a historic finals run. Due to a calf strain injury, Durant missed more than a month of action in the NBA playoffs before the finals. This worked out well for all the teams that feared to face off against him, and would also work for the Raptors. With the Warriors down 3-1 in the NBA Finals, Durant forced his way back for Game 5. He would end up playing only 12 minutes of Game 5 before suffering an Achilles rupture. Durant led the Warriors with 11 points during the time he was on the court, but the Warriors dynasty came to a swift end as Leonard led the Raptors to victory in 6 games. Next up, Andre Iguodala. Although some fans have attempted to minimize Andre Iguodala's performance throughout the years, he has a strong NBA resume. Iguodala was a two-way forward in the past whose defense helped him earn an All-Star selection and several victories. Also, he was a high-level scorer in his early days with the Philadelphia 76ers. In 2014, he would sign on with the Golden State Warriors, where his career would come full circle. After the Warriors defeated LeBron James and the Cavaliers in 2015, Iguodala would be named the MVP of the finals. And by the time 2019 rolled around, he had already won 3 NBA championships with Golden State. Iguodala had a lot of opportunities to play throughout the 2019 finals, as he played over 31 minutes per night. He stepped up and averaged 9.2 points, 4.5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal per game. But despite his best efforts, Leonard and the Raptors won the championship in 6 games. Finally, Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh is considered one of the best power forwards to have ever played the game and was a pioneer of the stretch forward movement in the NBA. Bosh achieved All-Star and All-NBA status in the late 2000s while playing with the Toronto Raptors, averaging over 20 points per game and 10 rebounds per game almost every night. He consistently ranked among the top 10 NBA players, and in the 2010 summer, he was one of the most sought-after free agents. Bosh would eventually join up with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade in Miami, where they went on to win 2 titles and appear in 4 finals. In 2014, against the San Antonio Spurs, a team they had defeated the year before, Bosh made his 4th and final appearance in the NBA Finals. Bosh didn't have any difficulties, but he didn't shoot enough, so he averaged 14 points per game and 5.2 rebounds per game. Despite only shooting the ball 10 times every game, he was making 38.5% of his three-point attempts, 54.5% of all of his other shots. With Bosh unable to make jumpers and Leonard defending LeBron, the Spurs defeated the Heat in 5 games to win the NBA title. Do you think that if Kawhi Leonard had stayed with the Raptors, they'd have won another championship? Also, which one of the NBA stars do you think offered Leonard the most trouble? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you in the next one.